Hello and welcome to the No Holds Barred Witchcraft podcast. So this episode is all about dreams because a certain someone on the Patreon, who we'll just call Calypso, came up with the most amazing, what would you say it is? It's a saying, I suppose, is it? Or
Hashtag
concept? Right. Called, what is it, Chris? What's it called?
a dream hangover.
A dream hangover. Now, what
Yeah.
the hell is a dream hangover, I hear you ask? So, Chris, what is a dream hangover?
Well, it's like when you get pissed off at your boyfriend all day because of something he did in a dream. It's that kind of hangover of feelings of whatever they are leaking into the rest of your day.
So, when you carry things over from what happened in a dream to your
Yeah.
waking life.
Yeah, I think the Patreon that we were talking about obviously was referring more to a kind of feeling or a sense that kind of sticks in the air still
Right.
after a dream.
So,
But equally, it can be, you know, oh, you shagged that bird in the office. Why did you shag that bird in the office? I didn't, love. I didn't, honest.
it
You're
was
like, yeah,
just
you
a
did.
dream.
It was just a dream.
Well, speaking of things that carry over to the physical world and sticky, what about sticky bed sheets? Is that dream hangover or is that
Oh,
another type of dream?
no, that's a wet dream, Liam. Why do you have to drop it to that level? This isn't
Well,
Fausty.
that's a real life, that's a real world manifestation, isn't it? That's some serious magic. That when something in the dream world you conjure up, and then it actually materializes in the physical world. I mean, that's some serious magic, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's something to do with biology and psychology, which, yes, it has its point in magic, but I don't think that counts entirely and necessarily as sex magic.
Okay, right. So, sexy time dreams don't class as sex magic. Is that what you're saying?
Well, it depends, doesn't it? Doesn't there have to be another party present in the sex dream?
Well, yeah, but there might be in the sex dream, but it'll be a
Yeah,
dream.
but exactly, is that just a dream or is that an astral journey?
Wow, I don't know. I think people are going to go and have to do some homework and investigating on such things.
Yeah, and then explain it to their partners.
Right, so where are we going today then? We're talking dreams and that. I suppose we should say some kind of golden nugget gnosis and stuff like that. Let's see what we can come up with. Okay, so the dream state is the state between this world and the astral world. It's kind of like in that film The Matrix, where they've got the Matrix, but then there's also like that, if you remember the film, they got that like training program where you're not kind of in the Matrix, but you are in a virtual
Yeah,
reality. That's kind of like the
yeah,
dream. So the way obviously I normally explain is if your conscious mind is in your physical body, that's kind of like you in your house, because the house is a physical object inside, locked in the house type thing. The dream state might be like the garden, so you're kind of out there. You can see a little
you're
further,
exposed.
and everything else is a little bit noisy that's coming outside of the garden. So obviously outside of your garden would be the big bad world, which would be the astral world. And if you look at possession and such, then the through road, what they would do if you're breaking into someone's house, because of course possession is essentially some spirit coming from the astral world through the garden into your house, and that's either invited because you throw open the doors and call them in, or they just force their way in, and that's called breaking and entering, and that's very much frowned upon in the physical world.
Yep.
Are you drinking cider?
Yeah.
I wasn't aware that we were allowed to drink during these.
I've needed it this week. I've worked hard.
Okay, I might. This might have to be. This could take things to a whole new level if we both started drinking cider during a podcast.
I don't think you should be allowed to drink. You can't be trusted.
Okay, so dreams. So what we kind of described, if we're thinking of them in the garden, I get a lot of people, Chris, that talk a little bit about interpretation of dreams, spirits coming to them in dreams, the dead coming to them in dreams, that kind of thing. And I've always said, well, it's a lot easier for someone in the astral, because if they're dead, they're essentially a spirit, aren't they? So they haven't got a physical body. So they're kind of
No.
philandering about, floating about in the astral. It's a lot easier for them to talk to you if you're pottering in the garden than if you're in your house. And
Because they
also,
can
if you're
wave you down
thinking,
over the fence.
yeah, exactly, they can just wave over the fence, or what they do, like the postman, they'd wander into the garden and come to knock on your door and
I don't know
such.
what you do with the postman, but I don't let the postman in.
Well, he really wants to write and send letters to you anyway.
Rude.
Apart from our friend Lady Poison. You get more care packages from Lady Poison than what I do, and I feel a bit bad because I consider her to be my friend more so than your friend because I knew her first.
Yeah, but I'm everybody's favourite, let's face it.
No, that's not true at all. I know people that can't stand you.
I'm sure you do.
So anyway, we've got to take this back to the dreamland, the dream world and the like. So, you know, talk a bit kind of about etheric kind of dreams and stuff. Do you put a lot of weight in dream interpretation? Because I get a lot of mundanes ask me, oh, I had a dream, Liam. I had this dream, and what does it mean? What does it mean, Liam? Do you put a lot of weight in that?
Not massively, but that's because dreaming is that processing time for you and your thoughts and your unconscious mind joining up with your conscious mind and allowing it to have that conversation, decide where things are being stored, process things that have happened, all that sort of thing. But it is a liminal space. So by being a liminal space, it allows entrance for other entities. If you're having a recurring dream, I'd expect you to analyze that a little bit deeper than, oh, I just dreamed about this alien with 65 tentacles, and big laser eyes and shit. I think it was a demon. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, that's a your brain trying to do something that it should be trying to do. If there are no triggers for any of it, then do you just have a vivid imagination? It's one of those. It's to be done with caution. I
Can you
think keeping
remember?
dream journals can be useful, but
Yeah. I was going to say, can you remember the last dream interpretation you were asked to give? And how long would it have been?
um, well, I've probably been asked more frequently than I would like. Whether or not I actually responded is a different matter. Um, because I think if it's your dream, you fucking deal with it, in my opinion, because it's you that's going to understand the nuances of it, not what somebody else has written in a book
Oh yeah, I understand the
100
books because
years
I
ago.
I put no weight whatsoever in the books, the dream interpretation books, but I do find that I don't know whether I just psychic in on it, but I do find when people explain their dreams and what happened, because it's never a full dream, they don't understand that. They never ever ever recall
No,
the full dream. They might feel like they recall a lot of the dream or all of it, but they never really recall all of it. But I do find this kind
it's
of
normally an
obvious.
entrance and exit, isn't
The
it?
the overall theme I find in dreams is generally pretty obvious. I've never
Yeah.
really thought, oh, this is going to be difficult to explain. It's always, to me, it's always kind of felt second nature, and I've wondered, like, would you not relate this symbolically? Because obviously, dreams, symbology, symbols, the language of the universe, I suppose. Um, I always find it quite simple, and I don't quite get why people don't see that. Even if you tell them, well, think of the symbology in it, and then apply that to the real world, people still don't
Yeah.
seem to get that.
I think it's because they want it to be more telling than it necessarily is. Like I said, if someone's having a recurring dream, or there is a theme running along several nights. So it might not necessarily be the same images, but it might be that the space is always the same. I'd be then saying, okay, well, what does that space mean to you? Rather than necessarily the whole dream. But it's just, yeah, I suppose the only, it's right, I'm still trying to rack my brain for the last time I was asked for a dream interpretation. The only ones I can really think of are the ones when I've set them as homework. So when I've got someone to kind of, you know, track their energetic relationships with planets or the zodiac or something, and kind of where they've entered this semi-lucid dream arrangement. But that's not the same as just dreaming. So, you know, someone having a mundane having a generic dream, oh, probably years ago, really. Normally,
Okay.
it's after they've spent an extended amount of time with me and they start having the weird prophetic dreams. That's normally when I have to have those kind of conversations.
It's funny because I'm thinking about the last dream interpretation I did, but I can't remember a lot about the dream, but I remember exactly what the dream meant.
Okay, well,
Because
that's
I tend to
probably the
retain
only important
practical
bit.
things.
Well, that's the important bit, surely,
Well, it is.
is the use of it.
But it wasn't my dream.
Yeah.
No, I had someone run up to me and they said, as usual, "Oh, Liam, I need you to tell me about this dream. I need you to tell me about this dream. It's weird. Oh, I never dream. I never dream. But this time I did a dream and I remember all of it. Oh, it's so vivid. Blah, 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 blah." To cut a long story short, it was along the lines of someone, um, I think it was something like a woman was moving themselves in and I think they moved into the house and then refused to leave and was really wasn't treating the property of the person very well. And I said, well, I'll
Okay.
apply this straight away. Your fiance has a son who, although has spent a lot of time in prison, is now out of prison, is and
Yeah.
now keeps getting himself into debt, and your fiance is going to have to use a lot of his savings to bail that person out. That isn't technically happening yet because your fiance doesn't know that yet. However, the person, the son in question, is currently racking up the debt enough for you to sense in your dream, and your dreams are a warning you because this person is quite, you know, a little psychic. They don't go along that kind of route and are a bit scared of that sort of thing. Having said that, I did get them to do a banishing in a house once to clear a spirit, so, you know,
Okay.
they don't believe, but they came a running to me saying, my house, there's a spirit in it, things are moving about, and I said, do this, this, and this, and they went and done it, and it works. So they are sensitive enough to be able to sense spirits, and they can
Yep.
manipulate the energy enough to actually clean them, but this person still doesn't necessarily call themselves a witch or isn't entertaining the idea of training further. But
Yeah.
whenever
Don't those
there is
ones frustrate you?
dreams, whenever there's dreams, it's always a warning with this person, and it
Oh,
was
okay.
kind of obvious that it would be. Get ready, because your fiance is going to go through a little bit of a turmoil. You're going to get dragged in, and you, as a couple, are going to have to bail out, you know, his son from a previous marriage type thing. So I just said, look, prepare yourself. And, well, what happens? There we go. That's what happened. But
Yeah.
to me, it was obvious. And I don't understand why the person didn't see that. Because I just go by the character of, oh,
A
there's a
lot.
person that's close by that you can't move, so it's an immovable person, and
Yep.
they're taking advantage, and is kind of a repeat kind of process over and over again. And I kind of just applied it to, well, what's going on with that kind of family, you know, environment. Oh, there's someone that isn't hers technically, but is close by. So it's not really her son, but essentially, if she's marrying the dad, it kind of is because it's her stepkid. You know, that kind of thing. But anyway, that was a little bit of a dream interpretation. I don't like doing dream interpretations, although I do find it amusing to listen to people's dreams. And the reason I don't like doing it is because you think, oh, interpret their dreams. You give them, much like psychic readings, which is one of the reasons why I don't work as a psychic anymore. You give them the advice, you tell them what's going on, and then they come back to you and said, yeah, everything you did happened. I wish I'd acted on it. What do I do now? And it's kind of the same old thing over and over again. Because I guarantee, as this person's going through the thing at the moment with that person, that if the dream's supposed to prepare you, I would take precautions, you know, and I would be thinking, what can I learn from this whole process? Obviously, this individual, the son, is very unstable, and it probably would be better for him to be banged up back again in prison. But, you know, he's on the scene every time he's in trouble and needs something, and that happens every couple of months to year, you know. So I'm kind of like, this needs to be nipped in the bud. You need to do something about this, you know. And then I suggest, well, why don't you know? He's not yours, and, you know, you don't want to go to the dad, because the dad obviously gets taken advantage of and has been taken advantage of throughout his old life. He spoilt the kid. That's his fault. But we could have used the magic, you know. But then all of a sudden it gets too scary. Oh no, I don't want to do that. Oh, that's scary. Oh no, I can't do that. Oh, that's bad. It's like, oh, go away then.
Yeah, those sorts of people really annoy me. I have the odd one of those that comes into in and out of my life. They're the ones that would make really good witches, but are too scared of things going wrong to actually try. And this often happens a lot with those people that actually call themselves witches. But, you know, the ones that actually have a real natural talent, and you can see things trying to reach out for them, and they're just too scared to invite them in. Um, but yeah, dream interpretation for me is tricky. I don't like, I don't enjoy those kind of conversations. It's fine when they're kind of talking about it. It's the, well, what do you think? I'm like, oh, I don't think I should tell you what I think, because I don't think you can cope with what I think. Um, and like you've just said, you'll ignore me anyway. So if you were going to actually make some effort, because let's face it, these people, and it goes back to the psychic readings again, these people that constantly go and see these people and ask over and over again the same questions are not people that are ever going to do anything about it. So, you know, they just want to keep paying their 30, 40, 50, 60, whatever it is, quid a time to be told something that they're not going to act on anyway. Um, and then they might bring it up in a coffee shop a couple of months later when it's all happened and they didn't do anything about it. And then they'll go back to see the psychic again.
Yeah. I mean, I I don't know. I kind of see the way I treat the dream state to me is like extra time on a football match, right? So the work's supposed to be done either in your physical body or in the astral body. You know, I don't really do a lot of work on dream time, but in dream time, that's when, like you said, obviously your unconscious mind organizes your thoughts and all that, but that is when you're quite easy to, you know, it's easy for you to tune into things and it's easy for things to contact you in a kind of a passive way. So when I think of if I was doing some work, say spying on someone, or if I was doing some work trying to investigate something or do some sort of magic, I'm putting a lot of effort in, and I do a ritual or I do some scrying and that as part of the magical working or operation, and then the operation's over, right? But then, obviously, I have to go to sleep every night. I go to sleep and then kind of there's a continuation or a theme in the dream. I kind of see that as, oh, these are little extras, like the PS postscript on the end of a letter. It's kind of like, I don't do the
Yeah.
work there, but very often if I dream about the thing, there'll be little nuggets that I kind of missed before. So I kind of tend
Yeah.
to think of it more, less about I go and do specific work in dreams personally, and I
Put more
think of it
notes in the
more as if it's
margin.
kind of like the net that drags behind, catching up anything that I didn't quite remember or didn't quite think about, and then other things
Yeah.
might want to get involved. If I'm a bit too fortified sometimes with certain magical operations, spirits might struggle to contact me, at least the weaker ones, or the more earthbound ones as well. So they tend to visit in dreams because that's the easiest thing for them to manifest. So, yeah, or the lower astral realm on my beach that I like, my private beach. I have a private beach, people, on the astral. Some people have their fortifications and their great, astral castle and that. I have a beach. Okay. I know we do set homework though, don't we? Because we do the kind of stereotypical homework, people try, and I think it's again the secret to that is getting them to work through and start communicating with their unconscious mind. So to start paying attention, and because
Yeah.
in the physical world your conscious mind tends to take over, and going into meditation, whether it's active meditation or your kind of stereotypical sit there cross-legged and go kind of meditation, that kind of supposed to bring in the unconscious mind. But for a lot of people struggle with that, and if they want to work some magic quickly, programming, or particularly when it comes to finding out information, programming something physical, even if it's writing down questions or putting something physical as a representation under the pillow or under the bed, and then going to sleep intending for that information to come to you, that works quite easily. I mean, it's hardly perfect and it's hardly sophisticated, but as a kind of bootstrapping magic, I think that tends to work a lot better, particularly for psychic work, than go and take a quick tarot course, because you aren't getting the kind of that you are getting all of the information, you're having to work through it, and is building a foundation there. Whereas a lot of these kind of divination systems, particularly when it comes to the ones like the pendulums and the Ouija boards and that kind of thing, you're kind of like, well, it's text speak, or it's trying to spell it out super simply. And I kind of think, well, ditch your shitty for divination systems that are only supposed to give you yes and no answers, and just go for a dream interpretation. Go for a dream.
You get a much better read.
Yeah, I think you'll get more information as well. You will get more information than you will from a fucking pendulum, I can assure you. But I don't know, because this is obviously inspired by one of our patrons, one of our Patreon saints, codenamed Calypso. She came up with the dream hangover kind of thing. She also came up with that other one that was really good, Spiritual Potato. So we'll have to do a podcast on that. That was pretty brilliant. And I suppose we should put a couple of things in for her as well, because obviously she's, what would we say, a desert sea witch? I think that's what we called her.
An ancient sea witch.
Yeah. Yeah, she's a little behind with the times, you see. I think when she was used to working with places where there was oceans. But now in this current year, 2021 we're in, some of those oceans aren't where they were left.
Yeah. No, it's an interesting one. Yeah, I think we probably won't get into those till extra time, but we'll make sure we cover some dream walking, because I think we've got a few of the patrons that would like to know a bit more about that. All I'll say in this part is, obviously, when we're talking about dream walking, it's what I call, it's a phrase I use. So whether or not there is a Insta-Witch version of this, I don't know, but obviously it's what I call it. So when you go kind of wandering across from what your dream to somebody else's, so kind of still touching on the not quite on the hedge kind of situation, but you're kind of skirting the astral, and just kind of going from one unconscious mind to another, and it allows you to do some kind of reconnaissance, but also, my favorite thing, fuck with people. So those are normally the options that I would use if I was going to go for a little dream walk.
Okay, so you share a time when you messed with someone, and then I'll do the same thing. Because that I've not really thought about that. I mean, that's kind of your go-to with dream walking. It's pretty boring following someone's dreams. There's better things to do, but if you are wanting to mess with someone, dreams are really, really good, because it reminds me of that that film, Inception, where they kind of implant ideas. And if you do
Yeah, and watch
implant, it
them
is
grow.
very true. If you implant ideas and things by messing with someone's dreams, it kind of does feel to the person like it's come from them.
Yeah.
So we should probably go into a little bit more about that. But I think everyone listening is going to want a story because they like stories where we go and mess people up
Okay.
using magic.
Okay.
So you do your one and
Well,
then I'll do mine.
when I first started doing it in my teens, it was kind of not entirely intentional, and then it kind of stretched it on from that. And for me, it was like, well, you know how people talk about, we were talking about it the other day with one of the clients about kind of a series, a hall with a series of doors. Um, well, mine don't happen like that. It's kind of like a series of doors that are attached to rooms. So you go through one room, there's a door into the next room, and I just go from one person's head to the other until I get to the house that I recognise, if that makes sense. Back in the old days, now it's obviously a bit more um, comprehensible, but back then it was just kind of like, oh, I know, well, I'm only so many streets away from such and such. I'll just piggyback from dream to dream until I find the head that I'm supposed to be in. But yeah, the sorts of stuff I would do is just kind of, yeah, kind of tweak with memories or be somewhere you're not supposed to be, because that really messes with people. Is when they don't expect you to see you in a scene that is clearly, because at the end of the day, you've got to remember, dreams are fairly personal, um, at least half of the time, where your brain is trying to process shit that you've been dealing with all week, months, years, etc. So it's like I said, processing time. So some messing with some of these can be a bit personal, and just kind of being in there. So kind of guys at work, massive homophobes, wandering into their dreams and just tweaking the scenery, um, until they're in kind of a really bad gay porno kind of situation, and then watch them be squirm and be awkward for the next 6 months because you go in every couple of weeks and just tweak things, and then make the odd joke. Obviously, for me, I had the luxury with that particular person or several, where you have the daytime where they don't know that you've been in their head, and therefore can reveal certain comments that just kind of reinforce it into their conscious brain, and then kind of see what's going on. Because the thing is, it will take its own form. So the first couple of times you go, you're having to do some, meddling. But by the kind of, fourth, fifth, sixth time you've been in there, the furniture's already been moved because you've started affecting how they process certain information. So it's dangerous, and we probably should have a massive disclaimer. But it's just one of those things where you are planting things into somebody's subconscious. From a spying point of view, it's useful. But really fucking with people is probably, the sorts of stuff that we would do that probably you shouldn't, and we shouldn't be advising. But anyway, go on. Can you fit your story in the
I've got a good one
minute or
about
so we've
that.
got left?
Yeah.
Go on.
It Okay, so it says, I've googled this, right? So going on before obviously the end of the first round. There's 27,375 days in the average lifespan. So that's essentially around about 27,000 ish, dreams, potentially night sleep. So there is a theory that dreams are designed to prepare you for death. So do you kind of see the
Okay,
concept there?
I can just
So
about
it's a
make that out.
preparation, it's a training. Like before you go and have a tennis match, you bash the tennis ball against the wall to improve your hand-eye coordination. The kind of a magical equivalent of that. Well, anyway, we'll go into this in more detail because it's the end of the standard podcast now. So we'll have to say goodbye.